Chris, could you start the recording? Thank you. I see that it started. We're going to open the meeting, the business meeting of the Town of Wellfleet Conservation Commission. And I'll do that by first announcing the commissioners who are present. Present Leon Shreves, John Portnoy, Michael Fisher, and Deborah Freeman. Attending also is Denny O'Connell, and Chris Bates is here as our commission secretary. This meeting is open pursuant to Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 30A, Sections 18 through 25, as amended by Chapter 28 of the Acts of 2009, the Wetlands Protection Act, and the Wellfleet Environmental Protection Bylaw and its regulations. This meeting is also held pursuant to Governor Baker's current order, which is undergoing revision regarding his March 12th order on remote meetings. I understand that that will be changing as of December 1st. Chris, if we could just cover what you wanted to say about the signature sheets first.
Yes, I apologize for not putting them in your packages. So I'm going to scan the signature sheets to you in email. So
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Make copies.
All right, so we'll announce that again when everybody is on the line.
Okay.
We're a little bit delayed since the conservation agent is not here yet. I think I don't know if Barbara Brennicell is on the line. I don't believe she is either. Okay.
We could do the executive minutes.
No, we cannot, Michael. Those have to be done in executive session.
Sorry.
That's okay. Why don't we just talk about the draft minutes of November 4th, 2020 for a second? Chris, this is really for you. I've made changes to them, which I've written out because there were a number of questions. And at certain points, I was listed as Deborah Fisher and Michael was listed, I think, as Michael Freeman. So
it was a great honor.
Oh my goodness.
I've changed those. But what I'll do is I'll drop this in the box. See it. And since Barbara isn't here yet, I won't ask for a vote on those minutes with the correct.
Yeah.
Perhaps we could go to the conservation restriction at Old Kings Highway since Denny O'Connell is here, and we could begin to discuss that.
I'm going to have to recuse. So I'm not sure that allows us a quorum.
We don't have a quorum then. Thank you. All right, we can't do that.
I'll wait until somebody else comes.
All right.
Okay,
Then,
Barbara's coming now.
okay, good.
There she is.
And
Barbara Brennicell, are you here now?
I am here.
Okay, why don't we go to the minutes then? I know you had edited them and you had questions.
Right.
On page 1, the boat rack was pulled away from the landing at Omaha, not Hiawatha.
Okay. So is Chris on here to
Yeah.
correct that?
What I'm going to do is I've corrected them and I'm going to drop the corrected copy with Chris.
Terrific. Okay.
And then Don Monroe's projects, if you look on the second page, the last paragraph, I know he had 2 projects on Samoset at 21 and I believe 11 Samoset. But I don't know if those are the projects to which he was referring. I don't believe he gave us the address of the projects he was considering.
No, I thought they were on Chakesset Neck Road for some reason. So I didn't know what projects he was referring to. We should
Okay,
probably have that in the minutes somehow.
okay. I don't think we know, so I'm just gonna take that out. Also, I was referred to as Deborah Fisher, and kind as that is, it's Deborah Freeman.
I fixed that. I mean,
Okay. And
so I resent a copy with Michael's corrections.
oh, okay, I did not see that.
Okay,
And then Michael was referred to as Michael Freeman instead of Michael Fisher.
all right, better check that.
We traded names.
Okay.
But, and then there was a question about Silvetti and what kind of RGA that was, whether that was a -2 or
Neg-
3.
John Portnoy said it was a -3.
Perfect. Okay, then what I'll do is I'll give Chris the changes that we've discussed, plus there are a few just wording changes. They're not sufficient to raise concerns. I
Right.
know that Ben Fairbanks has joined us.
And I've made that error. It's Fairbank.
Fairbank, excuse me.
Yeah, I've made that error in a lot of correspondence.
So Ben, I'm no longer calling you Ben Franklin. Now I'm just calling you Ben Fairbanks.
Thank you. I mean, it's not a bad mistake. It's not, you know.
We'll figure out who you are.
It's embarrassing. I apologize. Okay, so I will give those minutes to Chris, but with those corrections, could we have a motion to approve the minutes of November 4th, 2020?
So moved, Barbara.
Is there a second?
Second, Michael.
Okay, we need a voice vote. Leon, how do you vote? You're not audible. I can't hear you.
Yes.
Okay, John Portnoy,
Yes.
Barbara Brennisell,
Yes.
Ben Fairbank,
Yes.
and Debbie Freeman, yes, and Michael Fisher.
Yes.
Okay, so the minutes are approved.
We can
Why
get-
don't we go
Oh, yeah.
then, since we do have a quorum with Michael's recusal, to the conservation restriction at Old Kings Highway. Is that okay?
Okay, I think most of you are familiar with CRs, conservation restrictions. This is on a part of Janet Reinhardt's property off of Old King Highway. She actually has 2 lots over there, and we're taking a bit of her homestead lot along with some of her other lot that's there. And it's 3.6 something acres, 3.65 acres. And it's pretty plain Jane stuff, which is good. It's actually, I learned that that was the source of sand many years ago to help build up some of the roads along the highway. But anyhow, it's all pretty naturalized now, and you've got all of the attributes listed on, not all of them, but the highlight attributes listed on the cover letter. And in the CR, you can see all sorts of details. The CRs are certainly something that are effective to retain natural property. But it also takes a lot of work for us to do that. And so it's a real commitment. Only certain organizations are allowed to have CRs, and they must be approved by the state. And we as an operating land trust are certainly part of that. You are too. You have some CRs on our property. So any questions? Let me just go that.
No, Denny, what is it that you would like us to do? You would like us to adopt this CR?
No, in the end of the first paragraph, it says, we will need you to send the select board a notice by email of your vote to recommend the CR for their review, approval, and signing.
Okay.
You are merely recommending, so.
All right, could I have a motion to do so?
I will definitely recommend that we approve the CR for the Reinhardt property.
John Kumbler has joined us. Go ahead, please, John. John, you're muted.
I'll second that.
They're getting picked up, Nick.
Okay. I will recuse because Janet Reinhardt is a personal friend. So we do have enough commissioners to vote on it. So if we could have a motion, I'm sorry, if we could have the vote. Leon?
Debbie,
Yes.
Debbie,
Yes.
sorry. The word I heard was recommend the CR. The word, what I really want you to do is a recommend to the select board review, approval, and signature of.
Okay.
Chris, you can find those words. in
I will
the-
change my vote to that, Denny,
Your
Thank you.
motion? Okay.
the words.
John,
I agree.
okay, fine. So with the amended motion, we need a voice vote. And I'll ask the commissioners each how they vote. Leon Shreve, how do you vote?
Yes.
John Portnoy?
I think I have to recuse so long as we have a quorum.
Barbara Brenessel?
Yes.
Ben Fairbank?
Yes.
John Kumbler?
Yes.
And I recuse myself also, so it passes, Denny.
Okay. I will send a reminder to Hillary to send an email onto the select board.
As a personal, as a citizen, I would just like to say that I'm really proud of Janet Reinhardt and her family for doing this, and that it's a wonderful thing to do.
I agree. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, why don't we move to the conservation agents report, since I know that Hillary is with us now.
She's muted. She just came off a Board of Health meeting 2 seconds ago.
Okay, Hillary?
Debbie, I'm going to sign off. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Denny.
Thank you, Denny.
Denny.
Hi, Hillary.
Hi, sorry about that. My Board of Health meeting just ended.
We heard that.
Okay.
We
From
have inside
Barbara.
information.
You have a spy. So if you would like to give the conservation agents report.
Kind of foggy at this moment. Why don't
Maybe
you
we
come
should
back
take a
to
deep
me?
breath. Maybe we can do something else and give Hillary
Okay.
a few minutes. to regroup.
I have to transition.
Yes.
Okay, Hillary, on the mail discussion, if you could indicate to us what's happening with the new order from Governor Baker and what we need to do in terms of
So
our,
what we need to do is for all those cases that we've sort of continued indefinitely with no date certain, we have to open them by December 21st, which means in looking at our agenda, we have 2 cases that fall into that category, free and clear with no questions asked. That's Michelson and Simone, both on Samoset. So I've gone ahead and put them on the agenda for 12/16 because our next agenda on December 2nd is already quite packed. And we have Mandel on that one. We have Candel, which is another revetment repair project. And I think if I put these 2 on, you guys will go over the edge because there'll be 10 hearings that night. So I don't want to do that. So I've gone ahead and tentatively scheduled them for 12/16.
Okay.
And
is that 21 and 11 Samoset?
it is 21 Samoset and 5 and 11 is the other one.
Okay, 21, 5, and 11.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so we have those. Then we have the outstanding issue at 1440 Chequesset Neck Road, where I think you had all seen that they had filed an emergency certification for shorefront protection for sandbags with pilings. That went to the DEP to seek their approval because we did not respond within 24 hours. Unfortunately so, the DEP did reach out to me earlier in the week to say that they were going to try and schedule a site visit. And I said I was not going to attend with them because it's now solely in their hands. So DEP has the emergency certification. I haven't received anything back yet. We had a discussion about it and he was going to go out there and get back in touch with me and let me know how they were going to proceed.
Okay, do we have a time frame for that?
It should be issued, well, it's supposed to be issued within 24 hours. So why the DEP gets more time? So I'm not 100% sure. I spoke to them. That was on Veterans Day. I spoke to them at the end of last week.
Okay, so that one is up in the air. We don't know if we will add that to our schedule or not.
Correct.
I have a question about something Hillary just said. Pilings? I don't remember pilings in the emergency certification request.
Yes,
Yeah, there were pilings holding the bags in.
Oh, okay.
they were 80 feet, I believe.
80 feet long.
Extent.
Oh, horizontally, you mean?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
John, did you have a question, John Kumbler?
Yeah, would you explain why I understand we didn't respond in 24 hours. Does that mean this is out, they can do whatever DPW says, even if we don't think that's a good idea?
Yes.
Yes.
Our jurisdiction is limited on an emergency certification to a response within 24 hours. If we do not respond by statute, it goes immediately to DEP. We have no more jurisdiction over it.
Because this is not related to our case, I have another question. In their letter to us, they said that
Isn't this executive session?
there was a
If you're going to talk about the letters that,
the request that went to DPW first came to us, right?
Okay.
It came to us, yes.
Okay, in that letter, they said that one of the reasons they wanted the emergency certification was because of the health and safety of the town, citizens of the town of Wellfleet. So my question is, doesn't the town have the right to have a structure removed that's a danger to the citizens and of Wellfleet?
I think we're getting into hypotheticals. So Hillary, if you can respond to that as a hypothetical.
Yeah, I'm just looking for where I don't see that stated. We can grant an emergency certification for something that is a hazard to life and health safety. Yes. We can only approve something on an emergency certification which abates the emergency. So there are various ways to abate emergencies. If a structure is falling over the edge and it's going to harm somebody walking by, for instance, we've ordered folks to remove leach pits that are about to fall to the coastal bank out of a property. So we've used the emergency certification to remove structures. We removed a portion of, I think, Melinda Crasting's dwelling on an emergency certification at one point. So each situation is unique. We've never removed a coastal engineered structure on an emergency certification because they just don't cause an imminent threat to human life.
But the letter, if you read, because I read the letter they sent to you, says
Okay.
specifically.
John, there's a letter. I think we're really getting into executive session territory because I think there were comments from our attorney. And I really.
This has nothing to do, Debbie, this has nothing to do with the letter from the attorney. This is a letter that was sent to Hillary asking for the emergency certification that we were all CC'd on, that then apparently has gone to DPW. That's the letter I'm referring to. There's nothing about the case about that letter. Is that correct, Hillary?
I guess I'm not seeing in their emergencies. Oh, maybe in the letter from their consultant engineer. Is that the letter you're referring to?
Whatever the thing that you sent us, there was a little description in there of why they need the emergency certification.
Oh, their emergency statement.
Right.
So if that's true, that means that they are admitting that it's endangering the town.
I think we're really getting into.
I think we need to stop
something
the
that should be
discussion as well,
scheduled.
Debbie. I think suffice it to say, it came in on a Monday night. I saw it on Tuesday. Wednesday was the holiday. Wednesday marked the 24 hours. And so it goes. So it sits with DEP. We're waiting to hear back from them on what course of action they will take. And then we can discuss it further.
Right. I think if DEP recommends a course of action, we put it on the agenda and all these issues can be raised, including what, if any, response we want to make to it. But that way we've satisfied the notice requirements, and that's my
Correct.
concern.
I was just giving you notice that it had gone on to DEP for their approval.
No, I appreciate that.
That being said, moving on, we have some jurisdictional opinions. We have the Wellfleet Harbor Conference this weekend, where I'll be talking about our CZM resiliency grant for those of you that are signing on. Should be interesting, just a short little talk about that. We have Jeremy Young here, and I thought we were going to have Ken McPhee, and I see him here to talk about trees and diseased trees. So if we want to start with them, I think that would be great.
Okay.
Hi,
So,
all.
do you want to go ahead, Mr. McPhee?
It depends on what the agenda was. I'm not exactly clear if I was to go first or if Jeremy's
No,
up online.
why don't you go ahead? We're talking about, in general, tree removal and your thoughts on when trees need to be removed.
Oh, okay. Definitely with the pitch pines, when we see turpentine beetle activity, 5 or more galleries on a pitch pine, we determine that tree to have a 50% success rate, not knowing if the beetles are carrying blue stain fungus. And if the tree's in an area where an aerial lift can't get to it, or one of the new, manned spider lifts, Jeremy has one, we, usually recommend just taking that tree out for safety. Once it's dead, it's not safe to climb. Of course, sometimes these things do fall within the buffer zones.
So does it have to be removed if it's fallen within the buffer zone?
If it's fallen within the buffer zone, it would be removed to protect the adjacent pine trees, just using pines as a species. That would be a good course of action. If it's in the AC line, then, probably leave it definitely for habitat, but from the AC up to the 100, I would suggest taking it out. Your thoughts?
Does anybody have questions?
I have a couple of questions.
Sure.
Isn't the turpentine beetle a native insect?
Turpentine beetle is a native insect, but we also are looking at possible hazards to structures. So, and that's where, I look primarily when I look at a property. So.
Well, that makes sense, but are we going after, so are we only going after diseased pines?
No, we have oaks are in a really
No, that
bad
wasn't my, excuse me, that wasn't my question. I was asking, are we only going after diseased pines or oaks, if you want, that threaten a structure or threaten public safety?
Yep.
Or are we just, or are we going after all pines that are diseased within properties?
And that would be determined on a case-by-case basis. Some trees, if we have 2 pine trees and a stand of pine trees, John, and we're worried about the overall health of that stand, I'd suggest taking those 2 out. Definitely.
Okay, I guess my point is that we have a lot, the conservation commissions and tree experts, tree companies have a lot in common, but some of our objectives differ. The objectives under the Wetlands Protection Act in our town environmental bylaw don't say anything about removing diseased trees. Our objective is to try to restore and make, protect native wetland systems. And
Yeah.
those native systems can include insects, diseased trees, infested trees, dead trees. We
Yeah.
don't, that's really part of the natural system. So we have to be circumspect about going after every diseased tree.
I mean, I'm looking at the safety of, what's left there for live trees and what could be impacted further for the live trees that would then be an impact to a, safety standard. Of course, if something comes out, replanting definitely to get that crown density back. That could be another tree. It could be a shrub species. But, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I agree with both of you. I think it's a case by case basis. I think you have to look at the property and see what's happening. And if the tree is near the house or not, and if it's far away from the house, it's a natural order of things for trees for diseases to be transmitted among trees. But I think if it's a hazard to the house, it's pretty clear cut. Otherwise, I think it's a case by case basis. I don't think we just take down all trees that are diseased.
Yeah, no, definitely the case by case is the way to go, in my mind.
Hillary, do you have some comment on this?
No, not at this point.
Okay. Other than turpentine beetle, I take it your concerns for disease would be what?
It's more, the biggest problem right now is the insects. Cryptgall is back with the black oaks. That's going to be ugly again, probably for another 3 to 5 year run. We had the cryptgall, we had the drought, we had the gypsy moss with the oaks, and then two-line chestnut borer came in, phytophthora root rot went out of control with the white oaks, especially in the English oaks. Not too many English oaks in the town of Wellfleet, but Eastham, Truro, and Dennis. The forest is, if most of you must walk, the forests are in a horrible state right now. So, and unfortunately, sometimes that goes within a buffer zone and impacts the safety of a driveway, a power line, a house. And, plans need to be made. And for some easier plans, JOs opposed to NOIs for those circumstances would be great. There's a big burden of cost with an NOI on something that may be cut and dry from a safety standpoint. I would like to see those fall under JOs.
I think the trouble we're having with some of the JOs is the number of trees included.
Mm-hmm.
We've essentially said that a JO involves no more than 3 trees.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah,
Sorry.
Michael, go ahead, please.
But it's on a slightly different take on this, so maybe you want to keep going.
No, go ahead.
Well, we've had requests to, when the top of a tree is blown over in a storm, to remove the entire tree. And we're getting advice from various people involved with ecological factors to let the snag remain. It may not be as attractive, but it does provide habitat for wildlife. So if it's not a danger to a house, what are the feelings about removing the entire tree or letting the snag, 10, 15 feet tall stay?
If the snag, the stag of the tree, if it's just the top of the tree that is damaged, I'd recommend taking the top of the tree out, making correct pruning cuts so that tree can start to grow again. To leave a half of a top in a tree is really not sensible to me, coming from what I do for a living. It's go up there, take that out, make a correct pruning cut. It's going to initiate more growth in future years and turn back into a tree and be, a thicker crown density. If it's a standing stag where the top blew out and there's a 20-foot trunk, leaving that for habitat where it can't fall within into a structure or a parking area or a power line, that's perfectly fine in my mind. The more habitat, the better.
Thank you.
Does anyone else have questions?
Just one, Ken, have you seen any of the southern pine beetle out on the Outer Cape?
We, last 2 years, have done trapping in Wellfleet, Truro, Plymouth, Martha's Vineyard, Osterville. We collected none. Black turpentine beetle, we shocked the person that developed the trap. Thousands upon thousands of collections of those. The state of Mass collected in Truro 2 or 3 years ago. I think they collected 10 southern pine beetles, but then we had a severe winter that winter.
Mhm.
It's coming.
Yeah.
It's, in my mind, probably a 5-year before we see it, especially if we start to have warmer winters. And warmer winters are a couple of degrees on average. It's not a big temperature swing for that insect. Will we have 4 or 5 generations like they do down south? No, I think we'll have a 1, maybe a 2 generation a year. But if that comes, we're in trouble, especially our end of the Cape.
Okay, well, I just want to say I totally agree with the safety concerns, and trees that are threats to people or structures should be removed. I just wanted to get our perspective out there that anything that's diseased or even dead is not necessarily a problem, and it's an opportunity for wildlife, cavity nesters and so forth. And
Yeah.
also the other thing that's going on now at this point in time is that we've got all these really big old pitch pines, and they're breaking off halfway up.
Yep.
And they're not going to resprout, and they're standing snags for quite a few years, and they do serve as important habitat for wildlife. So, from our perspective, we wouldn't want those necessarily removed unless there was a safety issue.
No, the standing portion I can see remaining. I would take the top John out, even though that is a habitat draw. It's still that much extra sapping and odor for the black turpentine beetle, leaving the standing stag for habitat, woodpeckers and the such, not hatches and everything. That'd be great, but I would suggest being able to remove the tops of the trees just to try to help limit the turpentine beetle.
Are there any other questions? Thank you. John, go ahead.
I want to reinforce what John said. Our concern is not solely healthy trees. It's a healthy ecosystem, and a healthy ecosystem involves dead trees, diseased trees, as well as healthy trees. And it's the mix which provides habitat for a variety of different kinds of species. So I think John's point is important.
Okay. Hillary, do you think there's anything else that we should cover?
I don't think so.
Okay. Then why don't we move on to the issue of the square feet of disturbance that's addressed in our regulations. I know there's been some confusion about that. And
So I had that conversation with Michael earlier in the week, and I'm just gonna pull out my regulations.
yeah, I have mine right here.
Okay.
Yeah, it's section 2.01D.
Yes.
Part of the problem is that we're dealing with different dates for the creation of a lot. And we're dealing with different areas of total disturbance within the buffer zone based on that, 3,000 and 5,000 square feet.
Right.
So I think the thing that's important for us to remember is that in the 100-foot buffer, the Conservation Commission may allow up to 3,000 square feet of total alteration in a lot recorded prior to November 13th, 2003. So it's a very limited amount in the 100-foot buffer, 3,000 square feet only. And that's in 2.01 D1A, okay? Then we calculate the total alteration in the entire buffer zone in square feet. And at a minimum, nothing should be done in the 50-foot filter strip. And I would ask everyone to read that, which is section 2 of this regulation, because I know Barbara has been, rightfully so, raising that issue with us over and over again. So I think it's important to look at that regulation. And then if there's to be any disturbance in the buffer zone, the area must have been disturbed before. And this must be an improvement over existing conditions, which is another thing we have to start considering when we're looking in the 100-foot to the 50-foot area. And another interesting fact is that no new structure or addition to an existing structure shall be located closer to a wetland resource than already exists. So I think we have to start looking very carefully at that too. And then finally, the area of proposed disturbance and all previously disturbed areas shall not cumulatively exceed 5,000 square feet for the buffer zone. So it's confusing. And I think what we're going to have to do is, with each structure in the buffer zone, we're going to have to look at our regulations specifically and see where we are. Otherwise, I don't know how to figure it out. Hillary?
It's confusing, but the way I look at it is, for the second one that you read about, that's for expansion of existing structures. So
Right.
assuming they already have 3,000 square feet of disturbance, we can allow up to 5,000. But for new construction within the 100-foot buffer zone, we can only allow a 3,000 square foot of disturbance. So it's interesting because our consultant Horsley Witten reached out to, and they want to refine the language there. So when we see our draft of the new regulation, it's going to be clearer. So we don't have to work with it for that much longer, but we can certainly work it through on the cases that we have.
When we discuss the issue of emergency certifications too, as John Kumbler raised,
Yeah.
would you lead us through how we would calculate the area of disturbance in such a circumstance? Because it seems like, given, for example, a coastal engineering structure that is large, it would impact a great deal of the area that's limited.
Yes, and I have not seen us, I can remember only one project where the square footage of disturbance came up in the discussion of the structure based on what was on the land. And in my mind, it doesn't really make sense to combine the two, although it's unclear to me how those two work. That's why we've never sort of considered that square footage when looking at a revetment or a rock wall or a bulkhead or anything.
Yeah, I would say do you understand what I'm saying? I'm saying that we have a limited area that we can permit, and it can be no more than 5,000 square feet.
Mhm.
If we're dealing with an already disturbed area where there are structures, and we're dealing with some form of coastal engineering structure, do we add those together? Is that what we're being told to do by our regulations, or are they separate? Because I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, and I guess I feel like they're separate because we have a whole section on coastal banks and coastal engineered structures, and it doesn't call that into account anywhere in that section.
But if it's on a homeowner's property, it should be part of the calculation, Hillary. I think so. And I think that's where we were unable to enforce some things in the past because we weren't able to calculate that revetment as part of the, and if it's
Yeah.
on the property, we should be able to use that as part of the calculation, I feel. That's a
We can certainly
disturbance,
try,
isn't
but
it?
I guess I just thinking that the structures are gonna eat up practically all of the disturbance on the lot, so they're gonna come in already at 5,000 square feet of disturbance if they have a house, a driveway, a patio, and a revetment.
Sure, but then they can't put more stuff on.
Correct.
Yeah, so I think it really, we have to have a way to put that into the calculation. It's part of the,
Because Hillary, if you look at 201, and I'm sorry, I've written over it, but it says the area of proposed disturbance and all previously disturbed areas shall not cumulatively exceed the 5,000 square foot threshold for allowable disturbance within the buffer zone. And I think that's where the confusion arises, because does that mean when you're adding to it with a coastal engineering structure that comes into the calculation? Because the language would certainly indicate that it does.
Then it, yeah.
Or is there something else that we're missing?
No, I don't think you're missing anything. I think it's confusing and it's not 100% clear, but the read of the buffer zone section says that it would apply. However, there's no reference back to that when looking at coastal banks or, you know, coastal engineered structures.
Okay, I'm not sure that there has to be. But it's just food for thought. And as we look at coastal engineering structures, I think we have to be conscious of how much alteration on the land there actually is at each location and whether it's new alteration or old alteration.
And this is only in the 100-foot buffer zone
Yes.
and below that,
yeah, it's only in our jurisdiction.
Yeah.
right.
Well, that's very, very helpful. The only thing that's still a little bit unclear when it says a lot recorded prior to November 19th, 2003. If a lot has been subdivided, is that a new recording?
Yes. Yep. And there's a section that says on a lot created after that.
Yes.
Right, because I don't remember having ever looked at when the lot was recorded in our discussion before.
I think most lots
Yep.
are older, Michael, because there isn't a lot of available land in Wellfleet for the creation of new lots. Having said that, it's certainly something we should put in our questions now as to be sure that we're under the right section of the regulation.
Thank you, I think that would help.
Does anybody else have any questions on square footage of disturbance? John?
I want to go back to the question of as I remember, any structure closer to the wetlands than existing disturbance is prohibited?
That's what the regulation says.
All right.
Because I think we've been okaying stuff that's closer to the wetlands on a regular basis.
Not if it's pre-existing though. I
Right.
mean, if stuff was there before, we've been approving upgrades and things, but I don't think we've approved any new structures closer to the wetland.
So, but if you have a structure and they want to extend a deck, say, that's closer to the wetlands, that's what is prohibited. Is that correct?
An addition to an existing structure may not be located closer to the wetland resource than
Okay.
already exists.
Because I think we have done some of those, but yeah, I'm wrong.
So again, each case is unique and you can grant variances or deviations from your regulations if there's good reason to, but there has to be good reason.
Well, I'm just glad to know that's the starting point. So that
Yep.
going forward, I have a sense of, well, there has to be a good reason for this.
And I also want to point out that anything in the 50, any sheds, decks, additions, patios is not allowed under our provisions. And we always have these cases coming before us.
We
Right.
limited to, if we see a little hut that's down by the water, that maybe it's surrounded by bushes or whatever, does that mean that we have the ability to petition to the owner to remove it?
If it's not permitted, I don't know. That's a good question.
If it's not permitted, what we've done is raise those issues for Hillary and Doug to research and determine what the status is.
And to follow up on them as enforcement matters.
Because some are quite old and have been around for, I don't know how long.
Right.
So they might even predate the Wetlands Protection Act.
So here's the variance section of the regulation. It says the commission may in its discretion grant variances from one or more of the regulations pursuant to the provisions of this section. Variance shall be granted on a case-by-case basis and shall not set a precedent for future variance requests. The commission may in its discretion grant a variance for the following reasons or under the following circumstances. Upon clear and convincing proof provided that by the applicant that the proposed work or its impacts and effects will not adversely affect the public interest and environmental values of the bylaw. In exercising its discretion, the commission shall require an analysis of alternatives for the proposed activity and under the bylaw without deviating from the provisions of the regulations. The applicant shall provide the commission with a written alternatives analysis that the commission requires to make a decision. So that's the variance procedure.
If we're knowingly giving a variance, should we record that as such during the hearing?
You can. I mean, usually we know just by virtue of what you're approving, but I don't know that we come right out and say it. Sometimes folks specifically ask for it.
Well, what happens if we allow somebody for one reason or another to do something and somebody else wants to do the same kind of thing, but the extenuating circumstance doesn't apply? How do we
So there's no
claim
precedent.
that one?
It's case by case.
It's case by case, Leon. You cannot rely on what someone else did. Land is unique. Each situation is unique.
Okay, I understand. Thank you.
Okay. All right, then Hillary, if there's no more discussion on square footage of disturbance, should we do the jurisdictional opinions?
Well, we asked Larry Kaplan to come and speak to you. He has the house at 135 Old Truro Road, and we've received a couple complaints about that. And there appears to be a deviation from the approved plan to what's on the ground. So I was hoping we could hear from Mr. Kaplan before we move on to the jurisdictional opinions, because I do see that he's here.
Okay, let's do that then, please. Mr. Kaplan?
Your phone is muted. We cannot hear you.
What is it, *6 or something? How does he unmute?
On the phone, yeah, *6.
Okay.
*6.
I'm sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay. As indicated, the house we're building is at 135 Old Truro Road. It replaces an existing stable and cabin that was on the property. It is within the 100-foot buffer zone. It's very close to the buffer zone line. I'd say the front of the house is 10 or 15 feet from the curve of the 100-foot buffer zone. The house is 1,250 square feet. It's single story. I think the concern that was raised as far as it's not complete. Most of it is complete, but because of COVID and the pandemic, it's not completely complete. I think what has been raised on the front of the house. There are 2 doors, and there are stairs which have been constructed out of wood and appropriate composite materials for the front door and the side door. On the back of the house, we've constructed a similar stair, how do I say, structure. It is only 3 feet deep, and on the back of the house, there are 2 sets of doors, one in a master bedroom, which is a door window combination with 1 operable door. And in the main part of the house, there are 4 window door openings. In the main part of the house, the center of the house, there's 2 operable doors. We were required by the building department to have a stairway for those doors, because otherwise there would have been about a 3-foot drop off to the ground. So that was put up and as a stairway. The actual stairs down from that structure have not been constructed yet, but we will have stairs down from the structure on either side. So that's one of the issues. If you want to talk about that at this time, and let me raise the other one, or how do you want to take care of it?
Yeah,
Is that on the plan?
Pardon me?
It is not on the plan?
Yeah, neither were stairs in the front or the side of the house. It's a stair. It's a stair for the doors in the back of the house.
Okay, so we'll have 2 sets of stairs on the back that are not on the plan?
Oh, it's one structure. The length of the from the edge of the center part of the house to the edge of the door window combination, the master bedroom. So it's one continuous structure, so you can walk out and then walk down from the structure. So I would say it's, I don't know, maybe 15 feet long or something in that area, a little bit more maybe.
Hillary, I think for this enforcement action, we're going to need a plan and a diagram we can see and a site visit, because I am having trouble
so
determining.
it appears as a very narrow deck on the back of the dwelling. And we had gone back and forth on different designs of the structure when we permitted it, and call it stairs, call it a deck. It's a structure. It's an egress. It's something that was not on the approved plan, and it moves it way closer to the top of the bank there. And the top of the bank is in pretty poor disrepair in that location, if you remember, and there are sonotubes in the ground. So
It's a 3 feet deep. So it's, if you say much closer, it's 3 feet as far as being closer to the edge of the hill.
Okay, I still think that what we're going to need is to have this brought before us as an enforcement action.
okay.
That's my personal opinion. I don't know how other people feel, but I would want a stop work on this, and I would want to see how it differs from what was permitted, and especially if it's closer to the protected area.
Well, it's already built. As
Well,
the stairs aren't, we won't do any further construction on it, but it's existing and it's standing there.
and it may have to come down. We'll see.
Well, maybe it will, or maybe it won't.
Okay, I agree with Deb that if it wasn't permitted and we didn't see it, we have to look at the effect. We need a site visit, and it's in addition to the project that we approved.
You know, otherwise the house is not habitable, because we can't get an occupancy permit for the back of the house, because there'd be a drop off from the doors, which were in the original plans on the house. So you would be putting us in a position where we could not occupy the house, because you cannot go out the back doors, as there would be no structure on which to stand and go down from the back doors.
I guess I think for us, it's the question of when you permitted the project and we looked at it, something must have changed, because why would you have permitted a project with no egress? So there's some.
Well, we also didn't have plans for the stairs in the front or the side of the house either. This is a stair structure. It's not big enough to be used as a deck, because it's only 3 feet deep. And there has to be a way to occupy
We
the house.
understand your dilemma, Mr. Kaplan, but we permit what we see, and you've built something that is different. Whether you have egress or ingress isn't our issue. What our issue is what we permitted and what was to be allowed on the ground. It's your issue to make sure that you have the appropriate compliance with the building code and that you present that to us so that we can see it and determine whether or not that's something we would approve. Now we're faced with something different from what was originally approved, and that's troubling.
Well, I'm sorry it's troubling. I think it's a pragmatic solution to the building code, which I don't believe your commission enforces. You as Conservation Commission, your issue is the degree to which a structure within the buffer zone infringes on the wetland. And if part of if you wish that we put more fill on the back of the hill, so it's further away from the edge of the hill, or we create a stronger structure so there's no erosion on the back of the hill, we can certainly do that. Otherwise, the house is going to be left uninhabitable.
Hillary,
Well, I think we need to review plans to be able to properly evaluate this, and also keep in mind that if you were having a permitting dilemma, it's always best to call the office prior to constructing something, just to check and make sure what your approvals are for.
Yeah, I understand, but we were also told, we were told by the building department that we had to have a structure there. That's why it was built subsequent to the building department telling us we needed a stairway at that point. We didn't do that before we were told that by the building department. So we have an issue here of occupancy, habitability, and also what we were told by the building department. And it seems rather the degree to which this infringes on the wetland is minimal at best. And it is a solution which satisfies the needs of both the Conservation Commission and the homeowner and the building department. Anyway, there's another issue too, which we should bring up, which has to do with an existing cabin, which was moved from one part of the property to another part of the property. It's a temporary structure, and we will go through the permitting process with your commission at a future date, if that's appropriate.
Is that the shed?
it was already moved?
Yeah, it had to be moved as the house was built.
And that wasn't addressed in the original permit?
Either was going to be torn down or moved. We moved it instead of tearing it down.
Okay, I think this is problematic enough that it needs to come in, Hillary.
That's fine. We will seek a site plan as to what's on the ground and compare that with what was approved and permitted. And
What is the process whereby we do that?
you can submit an as-built as to what's on the ground, and the commission will review that with what was approved and decide the next best course of action.
We will submit an as-built, and I appreciate the fact that you were able to come before the commission, and I welcome a site visit by anyone who wants to go by. I think we have improved the property significantly and will improve it for much more in the future.
Thank you.
All right, so who do I send that to? To you, Hillary?
Yep, submit that to the office, please.
And just one other question. John Portnoy was the supervisor. Was he notified about any of this?
No. There is another problem that I want to mention before we leave this topic. It's the problem of the overtopping of the silt fence on the back side of the house. I wonder if there's been any remedy for that yet.
We haven't done anything yet, and we will reconstruct the silt fence, immediately. We were just notified of that when we were told. We received a letter that was dated October the 30th, and we received it around November the 10th. It wasn't mailed till like the 4th or 5th, and we can have the silt screen put back up immediately.
When you provide us with the as-built, please show the original location of the cabin and where the cabin is located now?
I can do that immediately. Sure. So thank you for your time, and we'll submit it to Hillary, and she can communicate with me about future meetings or future involvement. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hillary, it's now 5 o'clock. So the public hearings portion would normally be opened. How many JOs do we have?
We have 3 jurisdictional opinions, but we can tackle those at the end. It's up to you.
I don't know. Would people rather hear the JOs and delay the public hearings to accommodate that, or go ahead with the public hearings?
I think we have people waiting for the public hearings. I think we should do those and then get back, just because people are waiting to hear.
Right.
All right, I need a motion to temporarily suspend the business meeting.
So moved, Michael.
Is there a second?
Barbara?
And I need a voice vote. Leon,
Yes.
John Portnoy,
Yes.
Ben,
Yes.
John Kumbler,
Where is he?
Yes.
Barbara.
Yes.
Okay, Barbara Brennesel
Yes.
and Debbie, yes, and Michael Fisher. I didn't mean to skip.
Yes.
Okay, so we'll open the public hearing portion of the Town of Wellfleet Conservation Commission meeting of today, November the 18th. This is opened pursuant to Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 30A, as amended by Chapter 28 of the Acts of 2009, the Wetlands Protection Act, and the Wellfleet Environmental Bylaw and its regulations. We are operating pursuant to Governor Baker's orders regarding the open meeting law and remote meetings. The first hearing, I believe, has been continued. Mandel Family Realty Trust.
Correct.
Do we need a motion to continue that, Hillary?
Yes, please.
Could we have a motion to continue Mandel, please?
So moved,
Continue
Barbara.
December 2nd.
Second.
Okay. Who seconded?
Michael?
Okay, so we have a motion to continue Mandel Family Realty Trust, care of Marion Fontaine, 41 9th Street, map 40, parcel 155. Notice of intent to construct a single-family dwelling, including septic system, well, underground utilities, driveway, and grading. I need a voice vote on that. John Portnoy,
Yes.
Ben Fairbank,
Yes.
Barbara Brennesel. Barbara, I can't hear you. I'm sorry.
Yes.
John Kumbler,
Yes.
Leon Shreve.
Yes.
Michael Fisher,
Yes.
and Deborah Freeman. Yes, that's continued. The next matter is Sheets 125 Marvin Way, map 21, parcel 26. It's an NOI, tree removal, repair walkways, expand deck, construct small platform, removal of trees, and pruning for view corridor. Is anyone here for Sheets?
Hi Debbie, I'm here for Sheets.
Thank you,
Should
Jim.
we move on to the next hearing because David LaJoy and the Sheets aren't on here yet?
Okay, we'll pass you then.
Thank you.
All right, Martin, 135 Samoset, map 28.
Well, do we have to vote for the continuing, or because
You can
they
just
want
leave it
it?
open and go on to the next one because we're going to come back to it.
Okay.
Okay.
Martin, 135 Samoset, map 28, parcel 105. It's an RDA to repair a driveway with 3/4 inch bluestone gravel and replaced rotted timbers with cobblestone. And I learned what bluestone gravel was today. So is anyone here for Martin?
I wonder if people are having trouble getting in.
I had trouble getting in.
If you were out there, did you have questions? Can we,
No, it was very clear. The only issue was a 100-foot buffer because it was measured from the high tide mark rather than the coastal bank, but it was not a big deal.
okay,
It seems like it's a pretty small project. I don't know what the other commissioners think.
So I agree. I think it's a pretty straightforward.
Yeah, I just didn't know how much of it was in the 50. Because I couldn't tell from the paperwork I got.
I don't think any of it is in the 50. I think the 50 went through the house and this
Okay.
was all in the 100.
All right. Then I agree with Michael. It's a pretty minor project. It's just, I wouldn't have any opposition to this.
I agree. I don't think I have any more questions, and I would move that we approve the NOI for Sheets, 125 Marvin Way.
No, this is Martin,
I mean
135,
Martin, sorry, 135 Samoset Ave.
and it's an RDA.
yep.
Okay, is there, a second?
-3.
Second, Michael.
Okay, and it's a -3. We need a vote. John Portnoy,
Yes.
Ben Fairbank,
Yes.
Barbara Brennisell,
Yes,
John Kumbler,
Yes.
Leon Shrees,
Yes.
Michael Fisher,
Yes.
and Debbie Freeman, yes. So that's all set.
Thank you.
Okay, the next project is Fitzsimmons, 100 Ione Road, map 28, parcel 69, an RDA to install a stone path around 3 sides of the house. Does anyone have questions about this project?
I definitely do. I don't know where the 50 and 100 is on this property because I couldn't see it on the plans that were submitted.
It is not marked on the plans.
Okay.
Apparently, it's all in the flood zone, so they didn't
Oh,
think
the
they needed it.
flood zone.
I'm
The
sorry,
whole
Hillary, you,
property's in the flood zone. And that's it.
It's
it's
all,
in the flood zone, so that's
It's
what
all
we,
in the flood zone.
okay.
Is Carol here? Carol, are you on here?
She told me that she had to take her husband to an eye doctor appointment.
I thought that was this morning during site visits. Let me just see.
She seemed to indicate she couldn't attend this evening.
Okay.
Let me get some people in. They just popped up.
Oh, there she is.
Oh, there, Carol's here. Oh, and there's John Martin.
Good evening.
Okay, Mr.
John-
Martin, we approved your project. You're all set.
Already,
Yes.
I missed the moment.
Sorry.
Thank you very much.
okay.
Carol Fitzsimmons, are you on?
She's muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes.
Good.
Okay, so the question about your project was whether it was in, the whole property was in the flood zone?
It's my understanding from Hillary that it is.
Okay. And the material that you intend to use for the path, would that be stone or shell or a combination of both?
A combination. I had sent an email. There was a change from the original proposal. And I sent an email this morning to
Dave,
Hillary.
it's Jeremy. Yeah, I
Hello?
guess there was an issue
Jeremy, you
getting
need to
in,
mute.
so you or the sheets weren't on here
Jeremy,
So I,
Chris, you're gonna have to mute him
I,
because we're not sharing host.
I
view.
said to wait, so they're gonna come back
Can you
to
mute
us.
Jeremy?
Yeah, tonight.
Chris,
Okay, I just want to let you know.
can you go ahead and mute
Thank-
Jeremy, please? Okay, go ahead, Carol, sorry.
Okay, I'm sorry. What I would like to do is use sandstone pavers, and they would be surrounded by 3/4 inch stone. The original plan called for slate pavers and pea stone, and it's my understanding that the pea stone is likely to travel, I guess the word is, and it was recommended that I use a little bit larger pebbles.
It's still going in the same area depicted on the plan?
Yes. And then what I had sent in this morning, there's a small area roughly, and I didn't realize this until yesterday when I staked out the proposed path. It was a little choppy in the front of the house, so there's an additional, it's essentially a triangle, an elongated right triangle that is 95 square feet, and I would like to fill that with the same 3/4 inch stone. If you're facing the house, if you're facing the front door, it would be the additional square footage is the area between the originally proposed path and the side of the fence and the side of the little garden that butts up to the fence.
Is that clear to folks? What's being referred to?
If that was a question to me, I didn't hear it. There's crackling.
Yeah, no, I was asking the commissioners if it was clear to them. what
Okay.
you're Describing.
Not 100% to me, but I would want to ask, you said that the native grasses didn't take. What else did you try in that area to work rather than putting down some hardening in the area? I mean, native grasses.
All different kinds of grasses. There's one, it was a very expensive failure that I got at Agway. I forget the name of it, but it's was designed to be particularly effective in on Cape Cod, and that didn't work. Our problem is that it's a high traffic area, or that's one of the problems.
So did you try something like wood chips instead of hardening the area?
No,
Because a lot of people just use wood chips as a path. And that's permeable, and it doesn't involve all the hardening that's in that particular sensitive area. Just asking if you consider.
No, I didn't. And the proposed, how this would be laid down is a 4-inch deep path would be dug. It would be filled with sand. The sandstone would, the pavers then would lie on top of the sand, and then it would be surrounded with the gravel, if you will. So it's totally pervious. There's no cement dust that's going to be used that would harden up. It's totally porous.
How much additional area are we talking about?
Linear feet,
Area, no, square feet.
square feet, with the addition of what I submitted this morning, that little triangle, if you will, it's roughly 1,000 square feet. It's 1,033.5, and that's probably extremely conservative because I realized I double counted some of the corners.
So that's a total, correct?
Correct.
So that's an area of disturbance in addition to the structure, the driveway and everything else. So we would like to see how much of your properties would actually be covered by disturbance. And I think that's important in our decisions. And once again, I'll go back to the fact that you don't need to use stone. You can use something like wood chips.
I don't understand your initial question, how much of the property? The property is almost 3 acres.
Okay, but what we require pursuant to our regulations is a calculation of how much of the area is disturbed. Because your entire property is in the flood zone, we need to know on a square foot basis for you to show us what the area is of the house, what the area is of the driveway, what the area is of the turnaround, what any disturbed area is in terms of square feet, and then show us additionally what you're proposing and the square feet for that.
Okay,
So I think it's on the plan that I'm looking at.
Exactly.
Existing and proposed.
Except for the new area that she's talking about.
So she calculated the new area of disturbance as 938.5 square feet. And what we see is the existing disturbance at 1,586. And then the proposed disturbance, and this was from when she reconstructed her dwelling, 1,586 plus 384 plus 38 is 2,008 square feet. So she has 2,008 square feet existing disturbed. And if we add to that the 938, she is at 2,900, maybe 3,000.
And then Hillary, add in the additional 95 from the stone this morning.
Hold on one sec.
I would call it 3,100.
So 2,946.5 square feet plus what was the latter amount?
95.
95. So 3,041.5 square feet of disturbance.
Right, so how does that fit in our regulations then?
So this was previously disturbed, and so she can have the up to 5,000 square feet of disturbance.
Well, she could have.
She can't, yes, you can permit up to that.
Yeah.
And just to be clear, we're talking about the flood zone. And so if she's putting sand and stone, the flood waters would go down through it.
Is the concern about the walkway going around the house or this new piece between the road and the house?
Who are you directing that question to?
Directing it to the committee members. Are we concerned about the walk around that house or this new revelation of the triangular piece? Debbie?
I'm not particularly concerned about the new piece. It's just that I don't know what it looks like. I haven't seen it on the ground. That's my concern.
Can we go around to the group and hear the reservations if there are any? Because it doesn't sound. I can't make heads or tails or if there's an issue or if there's not an issue. I'm sorry.
John, do you want to speak? John Portnoy?
Yeah, I don't have any major concerns with this project. I would like to, I think we have to see this small addition on the plan before it goes to the files, if we approve it. That's all.
Okay, Ben?
Yeah, I would just agree with that.
Barbara?
Yeah, I'm okay with it. I would have liked to seen some outside the box thinking about putting something else down besides stone.
John Kumbler?
I agree with Barbara, but I don't have a big issue one way or the other.
Leon?
I have no issue with it.
Michael
Okay.
Fisher?
I have to recuse because the Conservation Trust is in a butter.
Okay. I would agree. My concern is that we have a plan that depicts what's going to happen on the property. And Hillary, if you're comfortable, that can be filed after approval.
I'm okay with that.
Okay, then could I have a motion, please?
Oh, before we move that, I just wanted to make sure that the additional area will also be in the calculation on the plan.
Yes, she gave us that.
Thank you.
Could I have a motion, please?
I move that we approve the RDA for Fitzsimmons as a -2.
Is there a second?
Leon seconds.
All right, I need a voice vote. John Portnoy,
Yes.
Ben Fairbank,
Yes.
Barbara Brenessel,
Yes.
John Kumbler,
Yes.
All right.
Leon Shreve,
Yes.
Michael Fisher, you're recused,
Recused.
and Debbie Freeman, yes.
And
You're
we
all
have,
set.
we have to fill out an RDA form.
Yes, we do not have the forms tonight. Chris is going to email those to you so that you can have them.
All right, some of us have them from other projects. Okay.
So you're all set. The next matter is Turtle.
Debbie, I have a question. What was it? Is that what form are we signing?
RDA,
RDA.
determination of applicability.
And it's a -3.
Two.
-2.
It's in the flood zone.
Okay, so I have a determination, form to determination applicability. I just sign that?
Sign that and get it back to us, please.
Okay.
Okay, this is Carol. I have one last question. Do you require anything from me?
Yes.
Yes. A revised plan showing the additional disturbance that you're going to do.
Okay, so just another diagram of the one that was originally submitted that said plot plan,
Yeah.
test limits. I just amend that to show the additional 95 square feet.
Yes, correct.
And do just one copy, bring it down to you?
One copy to me, please.
Okay,
Also, the total disturbance should be added to the,
I
on the
just,
plan, it should say the correct amount of disturbance.
so the 3,041.5,
Yes.
I just make a statement saying total disturbance. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, Turtle, 50 West Main Street, map 14, parcel 30. A notice of intent, set 4 diamond pier footings for construction of a laundry addition. Is anyone here for that project?
Yes, hello, my name is Jack Wishart. I'm here on behalf of the property owners, the Tritles.
I'm sorry, I butchered that name. I apologize.
No, that's okay.
And do you want to tell us about your project, please?
Yeah, sure, be happy to. So homeowners requested to add a small laundry addition, approximate footprint 100 square feet that we would be adding to the property. And we're seeking your comment on moving forward with that.
Does anybody have questions on this?
No, this is Barbara. I think it's outside of the 50. It's a very small addition on piers. I don't really have a problem. I just would like on the plot plan, as we usually required, to have the total square foot coverage of the disturbed area so that as we go forward with additional projects, we just have that data on every plan.
Yeah, that's not a problem. We'll have an updated plot plan is pending right now.
And you'll submit that to Hillary?
Yes, absolutely. I'll submit it wherever it needs to go.
Does anyone else have a question? All right, could I have a motion, please?
All right, since Sai started this, I will move that we approve this abbreviated NOI. Is that what it is? It's a special for, what's the name of the people? I don't even know. Okay, yeah, I do that, whatever it is. My plans say something construction, coastline construction, whatever. Okay.
John Tritel and Wilbur.
Okay.
50 West Main Street, map 14, parcel 30.
All right.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second, John.
Okay, we need a voice vote. Barbara?
Yes.
Ben?
Yes.
John Portnoy?
Yes.
John Kumbler?
Yes.
Leon?
Yes.
Michael Fisher?
Recuse because the trust is a abutter.
Okay.
Boy,
And
the trust is all over town, isn't it?
And we're getting more and more.
Yeah.
It's a good thing.
congratulations. All right, that's all set.
Okay, thank you so much for your help.
So we don't have a Form 4 to sign, right?
No, we don't have a form for anything tonight.
Well, we have some old ones, but for this
Chris
one.
will email you the forms or put them
Okay.
outside if you.
Excellent,
Can
yeah.
we get a supervisor?
Oh,
It's right next door to here. We may as well take it.
Okay.
It's your neighbor, right?
Yeah.
Okay, the next hearing is for Baker and Elsesser, 210 Kendrick Avenue, Unit 2, Map 20, Parcel 29B, a notice of intent to install landscape elements, including driveway, terraces, seat walls, storage shed, steps, pergola, lawn area, and grill, replace existing fence and revegetate. Is someone here for that?
Yes, hi, I'm Lauren Cronin from Gregory Lombardi Design, the landscape architect on behalf of Janice Althusser and Mark Baker.
You want to discuss your project because a lot of it is within the 50-foot.
Sure. So this property it's part of a condo association. So there's several little cottages at the front along Kendrick Avenue, and then the property is actually a much larger piece that's owned in common that runs up the hill behind cottages. The house reconstruction actually came before you guys a little over a year ago and was approved. So there's an open order of conditions on the property for the house and decks. And then we're coming to you to ask for the landscape improvements as part of this filing tonight. So the proposal is to put a gravel driveway along the side of the house. There's some stepping stones that run through the front yard and then kind of along the right side of the house. We're proposing to put a stone terrace behind the house with a little seat wall and grill area, and then some steps that step up to the, as the hill kind of steps up behind the house. There is an existing shed behind the house already that serves I think the well pump or part of the septic system for the condo association as a whole. So the owners of cottage number 2 would like to put a second shed back there for their personal use. Those 2 sheds are outside of the 100-foot buffer, but they do fall within the ACEC boundary, or partially within the ACE boundary back there. And then they would like to put a stone terrace between those that has a little pergola over it, and a fire pit. And then obviously revegetate any pieces of the property with native vegetation. I should mention there's an existing fence out along Kendrick Avenue that's kind of was falling down, so they'd like to replace that in kind, similar to what the cottage next door has done.
I think part of what you're suggesting is off the property and on town property, and I don't think that's appropriate. That existing fence, that wasn't extended into town property, and I don't think we're going to, I would not approve expanding again into town property.
So even though there's an existing fence there?
Correct.
Well, your plan shows an existing fence to be replaced, but I didn't see one on the site.
It's in the photos that we submitted. I think it may have been removed as during the building construction.
Yeah.
But it was there initially.
Well, I don't think it's there now.
I would not want any expansion into town property, even if that had pre-existed. That's not appropriate.
Okay.
Also, I'm very concerned about the proposed shed and the amount of coverage in the back. It looks like everything is covered.
So we have the disturbance numbers on the side of the plan.
Can I sort of follow up on Debbie's question?
Yes, go ahead, Michael.
So I wonder if the applicant is aware, we discussed in July 2020 the Pilcher property, which is on the same parcel but is a different house. And they came forward with a proposal very much like yours. We had a number of questions about the pavers, about the intrusion into the town land, about the coverage, and they came back with a changed plan, which I'm quoting from the memo, an updated site plan which eliminated all the bluestone patio and walkway areas, eliminated one walkway in the back, reduced the amount of plantings, moved everything north and off the town road layout. Do you have that plan?
I do not have that plan.
Well, because that's what we approved, and what we didn't approve is a plan very much like the one that you've submitted.
Okay.
Let me just poll the commissioners and ask if they have concerns. John Portnoy?
You're muted, John.
I have concerns similar to what Debbie expressed with all the paving in the back and the additional shed back there.
Ben?
Yeah, no, I'm just trying to calculate if anyone can help, but the part, you know, the stuff in the 50-foot buffer that's increasing the disturbed area. It seems like we couldn't approve that in the first place, but if we would, there would need to be a lot more areas to replace that disturbance than what's proposed. So that's just something I noted.
Barbara?
Yeah, I anything in the 50, I'm really going to be jumping on here. There's a lot of stonework here, and if there's any lawn areas that needs fertilizer or irrigation, I'm gonna be on that too. So anything in the 50, I'm just gonna not be a proponent of in this plan. And I also have issues with the shed, even though it's out of the 100, it's in the flood zone. And there seems to be a lot of work that's being proposed here that will make even more disturbance on the property than currently.
So can I clarify a couple of things? One, the disturbance within the 50, the entire site is essentially disturbed at this point. It's all compacted, it's been driven on, there's no vegetation. So we're
Right.
actually proposing to reduce the disturbance in the 50 by a total of 109 square feet when you look at existing versus proposed conditions. The other thing is the shed is outside of that flood zone. The flood zone, we're not putting any structures in the flood zone.
Okay,
Right.
but within
That
the-
may be- Is that outside of our jurisdiction, Hillary?
No,
It's in the ACEC.
One
the
shed is within the ACEC and another shed is half in the ACEC.
Okay, so it's still in our jurisdiction. Okay, good to know. Thank
John
you.
Kumbler?
Yeah, I mean, I remember we had with the other property that Michael just pointed out, and it particularly the area within the 50, we made them make significant changes there. I'm somewhat sympathetic to not wanting people to track sand in their house, but they have to come up with much less than what they're proposing here. I also don't like the lawn because oftentimes that means people fertilize the lawn and that's too close to the water. And I have a little problem with the shed.
Leon?
Yeah, I was under the impression we were just looking at the front part. All of this extra building and everything is certainly something to be concerned about.
Michael Fisher?
Yes, I mean, just repeating, there's a lot of stone paving that we didn't approve before. There's the second shed. The shower, it's built, but it doesn't seem to be draining anywhere. So there's a number of things that I think need to be attended to.
Was the shower on the plan originally, Hillary?
That I don't know. I could get the old plan out and have a look, but I don't have it in front of me.
All right, I think that what you're
It's
hearing.
on the shower's on the house plan that was approved last
Okay, thank
October.
you. I think what you're hearing from us is that we do not want anything in the 50-foot buffer zone. No hardening. We understand that there may be some, Cape Cod mixture of grasses put in there, but we do not want a lawn. We do not want pavers out there. We understand there may be stairs and there may be some need, for something at the bottom of the stairs, as John Kumbler indicated, in terms of gravel or something to wipe your feet off on. But this plan is just incredibly overbuilt to me.
And just a quick question to add on to what we should know is anything going to be under the gravel driveway, like a hardener or anything?
It would be pervious to allow water to pass through it,
Okay.
infiltrate.
Hillary, do you have any comments?
No, I think I heard you loud and clear. I'm sure the designer heard you loud and clear, and I think that they should go back to the drawing board and come back with something less than what is before you now.
Just a question, is it possible for them to get access to the plan we approved for Pilcher?
Yeah,
Because it deals with a lot of the same issues.
it is, but I think it's a different designer, it's a different homeowner. They probably have different desires, so I'm not sure. I mean, we can certainly
Just in
share
terms
that.
of the paving stone and how they handled the stairwell, getting up to the stairwell and so on.
Yeah, I think we'd like you to come back with a revised plan. When would you like to come back?
When is the filing deadline for the next hearing?
So we have a filing deadline of November 25th for November 25th for a December 16th hearing.
Which is next week. I think that's probably too tight. Can we do the one after that?
Yes, I don't yet have that schedule because that's going to take us into January of 2021.
Okay.
But we can get that to you.
Could we put us on the next one, the December hearing, and then if we can't make that filing deadline, postpone?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, let's do that.
Could I have a motion to continue then, please?
So moved, Michael.
Is there a second?
Barbara,
I need a voice vote. John Portnoy,
he's muted.
Yes.
Ben,
Yes.
Barbara,
Yes.
John Kumbler,
Yes.
Leon,
Yes.
Michael,
Yes.
and Debbie, yes. So we'll see you when you come back.
Okay, great. Thank you.
The next hearing is Woods, 55 Commercial Street, map 15, parcel 101, an amended order of conditions to utilize a different septic technology. This is an AI system. Is there anyone here for this?
Yes.
Could you
Hi.
state your name, please?
Yeah, it's Ann Suggs.
Okay. And could you tell us how this project differs from what we approved in the past?
Yeah, the septic tank itself is a different innovative alternative technology. It's a Fuji Clean system, which I just presented to the Board of Health and received their approval for it. So it moves the pump tank over. I don't know if you have the plan in front of you.
We do.
But in the plan that's currently on file, the septic tank was sitting in line with the leach field, and the pump tank was over to the side of it. So now the pump tank is where the septic tank was sited, roughly. The leach field's remaining exactly the same. And the Fuji tank, the septic tank itself, which is a smaller footprint technology that can't really be kind of in a walkway. And that area is the only access to the back, unless we cut a new path through the yard there. So we're looking to replace the existing septic tank with the Fuji tank. So basically they're kind of all in a line in the alongside the building, kind of parallel to the building. The leach field sits in the same place. The pump tank moves over. So we're not going as wide in the footprint with the installation, excuse me. And the Fuji tank the septic tank itself sits back a little bit at the edge of the parking area, what is now asphalt.
Does anyone have any questions?
Somebody talking? No.
I think it's someone is talking.
Okay.
So I have a question. On the plan, it says the pine to be removed with a magic marker star. Is that new?
That's new because that's actually sitting alongside the existing septic tank. It's also dying from the ground up and the top down and leaning at a particularly poor angle. So, you know, we feel that it's going to come out with excavation in that area. We just as soon remove it and replace it with other vegetation.
What kind of vegetation do you have in mind?
You know, something, you know, along the lines of like blueberry bush or that kind of thing. I don't know, you know, something that's
It has to be part of the plan, and we have to see that whatever vegetation is replacing that will survive. So there has to be some kind of a follow-up plan on that.
okay.
Normally, we require 3 to 1, so we would need 3 plants that you're putting in and to see the location on your plan where you're going to put them and what size plants you intend to put in.
Okay.
John, did you have a comment?
Me?
Yes.
I had a vague question forming in my head. I just wondered if, I'm trying to remember that pine. I'm not sure that's a native pine. I think it might be a Japanese black. But in any case, if it's to be removed, a few shrubs in its place would be good. And I think you need to pick something more salt tolerant than bush blueberry, although I like blueberries. Something like bayberry would probably do fine there, but Hillary can probably suggest other things too, or Ben.
Okay. Yeah, that's, I think I just said my preference taste-wise for blueberries. But we're fine with bayberry, whatever is going to survive. We're not so far into the revegetation plan at this point, but we know we have to revegetate, you know, if we take down that tree. And I don't know what kind of tree it is. I can't recognize it in its currently deformed state. It's pretty deformed right now. So yeah, salt tolerance is important. But that's about it. That's really the scope of the changes to the order. There were some orders of condition, one being removing part of that, the other end of the asphalt parking lot, about 6 feet of it, taking that up and returning it to the town, is the way I read it. But we're not looking to make any changes to any of the other orders, just basically to replace the septic technology with a small move in location. It does mean we would remove the existing tank rather than fill it. We would continue still to just pump and fill the leach pits.
I take it the board
One other
accepted this?
The Board of
One other
Health.
question.
Yes.
So in the original approval in June 2019, David LaJoy said that the covers on these tanks would be attached so that they wouldn't float up because it is in a flood zone. Does that continue?
I think I'd have to talk specifically to the manufacturer to find out what they're recommending, if that's what.
And that's going to be the sentence I read earlier that you and I both read in the Board of Health meeting. I don't remember what it said, but it said something about being watertight and pipes and it's in the approval letter for the technology. I just don't know what it says at this point.
Right. Yeah, there's a standard that is in the DEP approval, and I don't have it in front of me either. But it's not a concrete tank. It's a plastic and fiberglass or fiber and plastic tank. So I don't know. I can't say specifically that it could have cast iron on top of it. The pump tank itself, there's no change to that. That would have the iron, you know, the cast. tank cover.
John Kumbler?
Hillary, I have a question about this. Is this system, I mean, it's an AI system, so how reliable is it?
It's pretty reliable. It's new
Is it as
technology.
reliable as the old system?
Yeah, for sure.
That they're the one that they originally suggested.
Yes, the numbers are quite promising, actually.
Okay, I have no problem with that. And I think my feeling would be to approve it and just tell them they need to deal with the plant replacement.
So we would need a planting plan and you could submit that to Hillary and
Okay.
discuss the plan with her.
Okay,
Is there a motion?
I move we approve this.
Is there a second?
I'll second, Ben.
All
I
right,
ju-
the
I
voice-
just want to, I'll approve, but I just want to make a statement that we have to continue to work with the Board of Health because all of these projects so near the waterways are so critical to the health of Wellfleet Harbor, and our whole, nitrogen remediation plans have to be so tuned in and coordinated is what I'm trying to say.
Thank you, Barbara. I think we all agree with that.
Okay, so I just wanted to, but I'll approve whatever.
I need a voice vote. John Portnoy,
Yes.
Ben,
Yes.
Barbara,
Yes.
John Kumbler,
Yes.
Leon,
Yes.
Michael,
Yes.
and Debbie, yes, you're all set. You just need to submit that planting plan.
okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, the next hearing is Maderos, 270 Holbrook Avenue, map 14, parcel 168. It's an RDA to remove an existing cottage and construct a new cottage in the same area within 100 feet of an isolated vegetated wetland. Is someone here for that, please?
Yes, this is Jason Ellis. Can you hear me?
Yes.
So this is Jason Ellis representing Kelly and Steve Medeiros. So what they're looking to do, they have an existing, two existing cottages in the back of their property behind their main house, and they're wishing to rip down one of the cottages and replace it with a new cottage, pushing the new structure outside of the buffer zone. There's an isolated vegetated wetland that exists behind the town property there that's on Main Street. There's a little park area, like a little lawn area on the town property. And then the grade goes up, there's a stockade fence and a lot of maple trees and such in the backyard of this property. We're not proposing to take any vegetation down. We're just looking to remove the building, push the building back from the wetland so it's outside the buffer zone and build a new one. That's pretty much it, pretty straightforward.
Madam Chair, I just want to state that I'm recusing on this.
Okay, thank you, John. Does anybody have any questions?
Yes, I do, Michael.
Go ahead, Michael.
On the application under section C, when it's a description, under 1B, you have the isolated vegetated wetland, but then under 2B, you say wetland not under the jurisdiction, it's misspelled, of Wetlands Protection Act. Is not this under our jurisdiction?
Correct, because it's an isolated freshwater wetland.
It's under the jurisdiction of the local bylaw, your local bylaw, but it's not under the jurisdiction of the Wetlands Protection Act. So you're only acting under your bylaw.
Okay, thank you.
Does anybody else have questions?
I think we could prove this pretty easily, the replacement of a shed, of a bungalow or cottage, whatever.
Cottage.
All right, could I, John
I have a
Kumbler?
question.
Yes.
What is the square feet of the new bungalow? Is roughly the same as the old one?
Roughly the same, yeah.
The height of the old one versus the height of the new one?
About the same, one story.
Okay, I don't have a problem.
Does anybody else have any questions?
I move that we approve the, it's an RDA, right?
Yes.
It is.
Yeah.
I move that we approve the RDA for Maderos, 270 Holbrook Avenue, map 14, parcel 168.
Is there a second?
Second,
All right, and can we have a voice vote? John Portnoy has recused himself. Ben,
Yes.
Barbara,
Yeah, I just want to make sure that they have a protection from the wetland, like they stake it out or put a fencing or something while they're doing the construction.
the silt fence.
Jason, is that part of the plan?
Yep, there's a work limit on the plan there.
Okay, very good. Thank
It's
you.
a stake work limit. Yep.
Yes, Barbara, yes.
John Kumbler,
yes.
Leon,
Yes.
Michael Fisher,
Yes.
and Debbie, yes, you're all set.
Thank you.
Okay, unless there is something else, that concludes the public hearing portion.
We have to go
Debbie,
back to
Debbie?
sheets.
Yeah, don't we
Oh,
have,
I'm sorry, thank you very much.
Could I just interrupt for 1 second? What is it? What's the negative vote on?
3.
A 3? Thank you.
Okay, I apologize. We'll go back to sheets 125 Marvin Way, map 21, parcel 26, a notice of intent. Tree removal, repair walkways, expand deck, construct small platform, removal of trees and pruning for view corridor. Who's here for sheets, please? You're muted, you're muted.
Hello?
How's that? Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Thank you very much. I'm Mike Sheets. I'm one of the property owners. My wife Ellen is also here as well. And we also have Dave LaJoy, who did the plan and the revisions of the plan, and Jeremy Young on the landscaping piece. So we're sort of all here. And you may recall we were here about a month ago. So we really appreciate the opportunity to come back, tell you a little bit, reframe our concept of the plan, what we're asking for, and also revisions we made to the plan in light of the comments that were made at the last hearing. So if it's okay with you, I'll just spend a couple of minutes and go through that. We also have, in a minute or two, a few pictures that Ellen's going to screen share just for the folks, refresh the memory of the folks who were able, the commission members who were able to come, and those who didn't. This is at 125 Marvin Way. It's part of the old, Elle, we're in a second, hon. It's part of the old, Elle, you can eliminate the screen share for just a second, if you don't mind. Thank you. It's part of the old Camp Marvin that the Durkees purchased and built a house on about 25 years ago. Steve Durkee and his wife and their family. Coincidentally, we've been coming to Wellfleet for my family for about 25 years, and we were fortunate enough to buy the house in just last year in 2019, and actually have been here for the last 8 months, and for reasons we all know, COVID-related reasons. We made several revisions to the plan that we had originally submitted in light of the comments, as I mentioned. And I did want to say, just, for what it's worth as the homeowner, that we treasure and appreciate, what we own, what we see, what we use, the natural environment, and our objective, I think, is aligned in conceiving the project with the commission's objectives. I mean, we want to enhance our ability to use the outside. We want to protect the environment. We want to improve safety, and I think a couple of things that we're proposing to do does that. And we're fully aware of the need to mitigate changes that we're proposing, even though we feel that those changes are pretty limited. And we've instructed the folks to, if you will, over mitigate. And I think the plantings and other things we've done here address that. At least that's our intent in dealing with the plans. There's really sort of three parts to the project, if you will, the proposed project. Maybe the most simple one is selective pruning to preserve a view corridor. And Dave LaJoie talked about that the last time around. There really weren't many questions at the time about that. Obviously, we're happy to talk about anything. The second piece is the replacement of the landscaping in the front of the house, in the existing footprint, and also the walkway, and if you will, the patio, the bluestone patio that goes in the front of the house and the side of the house within the existing disturbed area, within basically replacement and enhancement of the landscaping. It does include in the front of the house and the side of the house some tree removal, and we have proposed specific mitigation of the tree removal. For example, on the side of the house, there are 5 or 6 locust trees, which we propose to replace with cedars or the equivalent in that area. That's just by way of example. And then the last piece of the proposed project, which did have discussion for sure last time around, was what I'll call the back of the house. And that requires or is proposed to include adjustments to the deck and having a platform. So Ellen, if I could ask my wife just to screen share for a second and just show you a few pictures to maybe elucidate a little bit on what we're talking about. So there are basically three things that I'd like to talk about. One is the deck. The Jerkeys built a terrific house. They did a lot in what's now called DIY, do it yourself. The deck was an example of that. And the deck is, as you can see, it's an unusual shape, let's just call it, not really an efficient use of outdoors in our minds. And we'd like to replace the deck with and make some modifications to the deck. The existing deck is a combination of pressure treated wood and mahogany. Is like in different locations. They use different materials, and we would use one or the other, consistently throughout. And there are really two basic things we proposing to change with regard to the deck. Number one, and Ellen, before you go to the next picture, we're looking to reduce the existing size of the deck in response to some of the comments that we heard last time. So basically, if you look at the railing to the right, we're going to bring the deck back in 2 feet and eliminate 30 square feet there of decking, make that more narrow. And of course, the harbor is to the right in this picture. And we're looking to, I'll be, to add deck. I was going to say fill in, but add deck where you see the clotheslines, basically leading up to that tree, and on the other side of that against the house, there's that one smaller space there. Thank you, Ellen's got the pointer there. That's got a bunch of, it's got a faucet and a bunch of other stuff that the Jerkeys had down there and were using, for many, many years when they had that. Ellen, if you could go to the next slide, please. That's just a view of what that small area next to the house is. And we're proposing to fill that when I say fill it in, to put decking over that area. And also the next one, Ellen, please. And thank you. And this is a view from the other end of the deck. And when I talked about extending the deck, if you will, from there all the way to the existing start of the deck, which is sort of the front of the picture, and the total amount of proposed new decking, taking account of the 30 square feet we're taking off, the total amount of additional would be 93 square feet. That's the first piece. And you see there's a tree there that was proposed in the existing plan to be removed. It's quite proximate to the house. It's quite top heavy, but I'm not suggesting that it's, it's about to tip over. I mean, I have no idea. But when we bring the deck in the 2 feet, we probably can save that tree and keep the deck, pretty much the new part of the deck sort of just coming up to the tree, but not having to remove that tree. And that's something that we would, consider if that was something that is important to the commission. Next one, Elle, please. Just off the deck, this you can see on the right-hand side is part of the existing patio and a bluestone patio and a raised bed that's been there for many, many years. And I'm just mentioning this because we're proposing to extend that, to get rid of the raised bed. I call it a raised bed. I mean, it's had what it's a raised bed, and extend the bluestone, the permeable bluestone patio to where that bed is there, and that's shown on the plan as new patio. But I just wanted to indicate that, for us, and forgive me, I'm not an expert in your regulations, but our understanding is that is existing disturbed area, and we propose to replace that with the additional new patio, the bluestone patio. And lastly, Ellen, if you wouldn't mind the next picture. And so again, extending just further along on the other side of that raised bed is an area that the Durkees have used for their entire time they've been there. There's a path that you can see here, and a swing set, swing, and an existing bench, an area up there. There's really no vegetation up there to speak of. There is this little tree right in front of us. There, that's a picture. Yes, thank you. You can go to the next one, Elle. Thank you. That shows sort of what's up there now. And our proposal is to put a platform up there. We've reconfigured the size and shape of the platform in light of the comments at our last meeting. There's a cedar tree to the right in the picture. And so the platform, which would be the same decking that we're proposing to replace the existing deck with up there, and the total square feet that we're proposing for that platform, that raised platform, it's essentially a low deck, I suppose you would say, is 98 square feet. And I mention that because obviously you need to focus, you are concerned about you want to know what the coverage will be. And so that's why I'm making a point of that. The total of, that's it, Ellen, thank you. You might want to go off a screen share. The total, according to Dave, of the new area that we're asking permission for is 191 square feet. And again, that's that platform I just described, and that's the additional portions of the deck. And I guess the sort of the last thing I'd like to just mention, and then we'd be happy, of course, to take questions or whatever you'd like, is the mitigation. So there's substantial mitigation that we have proposed, and I'm using that term, maybe that's not your term, I don't know, plantings is what I'm talking about. And I'm talking about plantings over and above what I understand is required when you take down a tree, for example. So over and above that, we have two areas of plantings. One in particular is 409 square feet of bearberry on a, actually, I asked Elle, I probably missed one. Yeah, thank you. There was one other picture I wanted to show you. Beyond the area that we're just all talking about, there's a little hill, and there's an eroded area on the hill from runoff. And we're proposing to, to plant in the bare area, essentially extending existing bearberry over a wider area in our hopes that we can mitigate, further erosion. Here's the area I was referring to. In our hope that we can mitigate erosion. That's great, Al, thank you. And extend that bearberry going down. That's we're not looking for like a Nobel Prize for putting that extra stuff in, but in the concept of the plan, we're trying to be balanced and considerate of what the concerns are. And by the way, we share those concerns. So we want to mitigate runoff. We want to mitigate erosion. We want our property, to be healthy. And that's part of that. We have a whole variety of other plantings that are also described on Dave LaJoie's plan. But I guess you've been very generous in letting me describe what we want to do. And I'll sort of shut up now and see what questions or comments the commission might have.
Hillary, would you walk us through our regulations and the amount of disturbed area on this property?
So on a pre-existing lot with disturbance, we can have up to 5,000 square feet of disturbance.
And how much disturbance is on this lot?
Let me have a look here on the plan and see if I can easily identify that. We have.
It's in the middle of the bottom. It's 13,578 square feet.
Yes.
So we're way over.
And this is Barbara. I just want to point out that according to our regulations, the following activities are prohibited within the 50-foot filter strip. And I'm going to paraphrase, but expansion of existing structures, including but not limited to homes, buildings, garage, sheds, and decks. So to me, the deck project and the platform are within the 50, and we can't permit those according to our regulations.
I think we asked for in our notice, we asked for a variance to that.
Well, why should we give a variance to that? Is there a reason we should give a variance? I'd like to hear that argument.
I think that, I believe your requirements are based on new disturbance. And the majority of this area is already pre-existing.
No,
And
my arguments are based on our regulations within the 50, not disturbance at all.
your variance procedure is allowed in that 50 foot. So your regulations give you the ability to grant a variance to that if you feel it's appropriate.
I think what
And
Barbara's asking is to tell us why you feel it's appropriate to grant the variance, make the argument for the variance. So that.
Thank you, Dave.
Go ahead,
I'll
I'm
take
sorry.
that.
Yep.
Yeah, no problem. And so I understand, I think exactly what you're saying. And to be frank, we understand the rule. That's why we asked for the variance. And that's, where we believe we are providing substantial mitigation, so additional plantings, which are going to secure and improve the environment of the property overall, in exchange for allowing what I'm calling a limited additional amount of square footage. I mean, certainly on the existing deck area, that small part adjacent to the house and the part where the clotheslines are is indeed a strikingly limited area, which has had substantial use for many, many years. And so that is my argument. And I think you're overall for allowing a relatively small additional deck space. There's a much greater improvement in the environment when you take a look at our plantings as a whole. So that would be my response to your question, which was a good question.
What about taking up the tennis court?
So the tennis court is not part of the project. We use the tennis court all the time. I understand why a good public servant all volunteers, would ask that question, but we have no intention of doing anything with the tennis court. We like the tennis court. We did do research about the tennis court. It's been there at least 60 years. It's I don't know if the history matters one way or another, but that's something that's we purchased and we really enjoy, and we're certainly not looking to expand. Trust me, you'll never see us come here for that. But that's just not on the table for us, and we think we have a very balanced proposal. Not including the tennis court.
Is the area of the tennis court included in that 13,000 square feet of disturbance?
Yes, Mr.
Yes.
Portnoy, it is.
Okay, well, last time I mentioned the
About half
tennis
of it,
court,
actually.
last time I mentioned the tennis court as mitigation for a very specific reason, and that's because it's down at a low elevation. It's just uphill of existing salt marsh. And as I'm sure everyone's aware, sea level is rising faster, and salt marshes don't have any place to go with upland facing upland development on one side and sea level rise on the other. Some of us just saw a presentation a week and a half ago, new research in Wellfleet Harbor showing that we are losing acres and acres of our salt marsh due to sea level rise. If these bordering marshes have nowhere to go, then we're going to lose them over the next few decades. So I just think that in terms of public benefit, it would be really important mitigation if you were to give up the tennis court to allow sea level to rise over 6,000 square feet.
Can I just respond to that? Because I appreciate your comment, and like I said, we're looking for a balanced and reasonable mitigation in response to the very small additional disturbance that we're looking to have. And frankly, the tennis court is far outside an order of magnitude of anything like that. We do enjoy it. We use it, and we plan to continue to use it. I think as a practical matter, I have no illusions. Over time, unfortunately, the nature is going to overtake that tennis court, over time. And that's something in the future that we're going to have to confront and deal with. But for now, it's just not something that we think is a reasonable portion, or proportionate to what we're talking about. And, we're doing our best to be good stewards of what we have and enjoy what we have.
Here's the problem, and John, I'll call on you in 1 sec. You are more than double the disturbance on the property than is permitted by regulation, and you're asking to increase to more. I understand that you're proposing mitigation, but you're starting from a point where you are really in violation of what the regulations allow. And that's what we're all struggling with. John Kumbler?
So, I'm sorry, I beg your pardon.
John Kumbler?
Yeah, I mean, looking at the plans and looking at the pictures, personally, I'm not at all bothered by what you refer to as new fill-in deck. That's very effectively disturbed. I have more problem with the new deck platform and the new deck itself. But certainly the fill-in deck, I think the area under there is already disturbed. I don't see that as a significant problem, but I do think we have to be very concerned about any new construction in the, especially when you're over the allowable amount. So if I were you, I would rethink the new deck platform. And then I don't know how vital the little strip of deck you're wanting to propose. But for me, the new deck, the fill in the deck, that's a no-brainer.
I would agree, John. That's the only part of the proposal I would just sign on right now.
This is Ellen.
I would what? I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
Barbara, if you could repeat your comment.
I said, I agree with John Cumber. That's the only part of the proposal I would sign on with right now, the fill in the deck in that little area that's already disturbed, that should have been a deck in the first place.
I wanted to point out really quick, in case people didn't notice this, that it looks like, and Mr. Sheets confirmed, but it seems like you're taking a sliver off of the deck and then adding a sliver onto it. So
That's correct.
perhaps if the net gain were 0, or if the net increase was 0 of disturbed area. I don't know what other people think about
I think,
Sorry, someone's,
for,
and I don't know who it was.
That was
I
that was
think it's
me,
me.
Ellen Sheets. And I was just going to make that comment about we were offering to pull the deck back 2 feet further away from the coast, and because in order to make the deck, to square off the deck, and so to leave the deck so that we were further back. And so what if we had a net 0, not counting the fill-in part, which already would make it very difficult for us to square off that very bizarre deck that we bought.
I think, Hillary, can you give us any guidance here? Has there been a project like this that the commission has dealt with where there has been such an amount of disturbance on the property and there's been a request for more disturbance?
The only one that's similar that I can think of is a project on Lieutenant Island Road where there was a big driveway parking area and they were over the 5,000 square feet, and we did make them tear up one of the existing driveways to get under it. But this number, the 13,578 square feet, I mean, we're not talking about just getting rid of a driveway or a walkway. So we're sort of in a bind here.
My feeling, and this is just me, is that I cannot agree to any further expansion on the property. And I'm really concerned about the violation on the property that exists now. And I don't know what to do.
Excuse me, I don't know if you can call that violation due to Mr. Sheets's activity.
I'm not,
Okay.
Dave. I wasn't saying that he had violated. I said the violation on the property.
I understand. Thank you.
Are we referring to the violation as the exceedance of the 5,000 square feet, or are we?
The exceedance of the 5,000 square feet. That's what I'm.
Mr. Sheets said something interesting that sort of sparked my mind here, that the tennis court has been there for 60 years, right? I don't have any proof of that. You must have some pictures or affidavits or something, but then that predates the Wetlands Protection Act and it predates our regulation. So I wonder
if they could prove it, then it would be not a violation.
Well, I think then we could remove that from the discussion, but in which case then we're still at.
Can I just answer that? This is Michael. I know from family history that, in fact, that tennis court goes back to the 1950s. So, in fact, it does predate the regulations.
Okay, but even if that is removed, we're still over the 5,000.
7,438. So we're getting closer to where we need to be.
Can I ask one other question?
Let me just call on John Kubler first, and then I'll be glad
Sure.
to.
In the spirit of trying to help these people, this is me, and I can't speak for anyone else. I'm perfectly willing to let them fill in the new deck, and if they can reduce the section of the new deck that they're adding on to the same size as, and configure basically that they're eliminating the same amount that they're adding. They'll have to do a little bit of reconfiguring that. If they do that, so that's net 0 there, they get the fill in of the deck. If that's will help them, I'm willing to sign off on that. I'm not comfortable with the bench, the new deck platform, that's a different issue for me. But that little part there, I'm willing to go for. I think that will help them with their deck problem, and I'm perfectly willing to let them replace the deck material with a different kind of deck material.
What about a new patio replacing an existing patio?
No, that's in the 50, and also the platforms in the 50. So I agree with just what John Kumbler said, just the deck issues, because that will basically be the same square footage, just what they have, they're just evened out. And more usable deck space.
Yeah, I would say I'm on board with what Barbara and John just said.
Michael, you wanted to comment?
Yes, two things. First, I just don't know the answer to this, but this property was subdivided after only a couple of years ago. Was the lot recorded prior to 2003?
Was what lot? The subdivision?
Well, the regulations say for lots recorded prior to November 2003, all these rules apply.
I think those are the requirements for the 5,000 square feet.
Right.
So the subdivision doesn't overrule that.
No, I think we're talking about two different things. Dave,
Yeah.
do you know when any subdivision took place?
I do.
While Dave's looking that up, maybe I can just give a couple of reflections, comments, because I think it's been a really good discussion and you've given us a lot of direction, which we appreciate. So I think, well, it's quite clear we're going to need to come back. There's no question about that. It would be great to know if there's any other issues that we should take account of. I mentioned the selective pruning as the sort of the first part. Second part was the sort of I called it replacement of the landscaping, and then we've been dealing mostly with the third part. I mean, we're going to come back to you with something responsive to your concerns, and we hear you about the deck and we hear you about the platform.
And the patio.
Well, the patio is, I think, just a one-to-one replacement, isn't it?
No,
That's correct.
It's in the 50, Michael.
But it's existing.
No, it's not existing. It's a raised bed right now.
Yeah, partially is the raised bed and partially is existing.
And the regulation says no new structure or addition to any existing structure.
So keep that in mind as you revise the plan.
Okay,
Dave, were you able to determine the date of the subdivision?
I was.
When is that?
The original subdivision's called Treasure Cove for Marvin Inc. That was done in 1975. It shows variety of cabins and it shows a tennis court.
Okay.
The most recent subdivision was done in 2017, revised 3/11/2017.
And did that affect this property in particular?
Yes, it was a subdivision of 2 lots.
Okay, see, the problem is that limits it even more. That throws us back into the 3,000 square feet.
That's correct.
Well, but it also says that it's even more restrictive than that because it says on lots subdivided or recorded after November 19th, 2003, the alternative analysis shall include all alternatives available prior to the subdivision of the lot, and all work shall be located outside the 100-foot buffer zone. So it's really,
I think your variance process addresses that though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're trying, I think, to deal with a situation which is unfortunate.
I understand.
But that sounds to me, I'm just in the way you read it, that it's if, as if somebody were subdividing land and then building on the subdivided land, not subdividing land. This is the part that's already built on, that is the part that we have. So, you know, I'm trying to understand how we are able to buy a piece of property that went through town, all the town permitting to be subdivided, including our house and all these structure and the structure in the tennis court. And then a year later are being told, you know,
The
you
problem
can't do
is
that.
you didn't deal with conservation. You dealt with maybe planning, you dealt with planning and zoning, but you didn't deal with conservation, and each has a different jurisdiction.
We get that. We get that, and we appreciate it. And we actually didn't deal with any of it because the Durkee subdivided. But we get it. We get it. Let us. I think here's what I propose to do, and I understand that I'm trying to have a cooperative process and an iterative process. And I know you guys are all trying to work through it yourself with your own responsibilities. So fair is fair. We get it. I think we need to try to come back to you with an emphasis on 1 for 1. You know, you've been pretty clear about your direction. I think at least, you know, different commentators have. And so let us come back to you with a revised deck plan that takes into account you know, what Mr. Kumbler said and what the others have said. Let us to, you know, rethink the platform. You can probably imagine what I'm thinking about, what I mean by that, and see if we can't, you know, all in with our additional plantings and the mitigation, everything else, if we can get approval, you know, on the next go round, and we'll take our best shot. I mean, does that sound reasonable, Madam Chairwoman?
Yeah.
Can I just ask something? Is there anything else we could do mitigation wise that would be helpful, that, you know, that we haven't, any of you have ideas about that we could be talking about?
Yeah, I have a suggestion for what you're suggesting for shrub plantings. I would say provide us how many plants as opposed to square footage of plants.
Plus, the size is good too. Jeremy can help you with that. He can tell you what size.
Got it.
Deborah, I'd like to.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Jeremy.
I'd like to clarify the walkway from the driveway leading around the left side of the house, going down in front of the deck towards the tennis court. If we were to replace that with pre-existing footprint as it's posing a severe hazard to the homeowners, the sheets, would there be an issue with the commission on that?
I don't think that is the particular issue. I'm speaking for myself. I think.
Which walkway are we talking? The walkway where the new patio is, or are we talking about?
They're talking about the walkway that goes from I believe, the house down towards the tennis court.
Right.
Which is pre-existing, but very unstable and posing a hazard.
The existing dirt path.
That's rotten garden timber stairwells, uneven bluestone walkway. If we were to come back before the commission with just pre-existing and no expansions of the bluestone and just, you know, complete replacement 1-to-1. Would there be any issues there?
Barbara, what's your thought on that?
I'm not sure right now. I would think if you can replace stone with mulch or some other kind of ground cover, you know, that could be a positive. Anything that get stone and hardening out of the buffer zone would be beneficial, I think. But I don't know, we'd have to see the plan, Jeremy. I can't really think about it right now without seeing anything in front of me.
Does anybody else have any comments?
Just to clarify,
Yes.
the entire walkway is on the plan as pre-existing.
Yeah.
The only expansion is the bluestone patio where the raised bed is.
Right.
Yeah.
The existing walkway is just sand now, right?
No, it's bluestone.
It's bluestone? Okay.
Everything that's on the plan is pre-existing with the exception of number one, which would be what Dave's calling a patio expansion.
Okay, thank you.
That's the overall theme of this project, that a lot of everything on the plan is pre-existing. I get the deck expansion. I get the new deck platform.
Okay, but all that pre-existing adds up to the square footage of disturbance. So I understand that it's pre-existing, but it goes into the calculation, right?
But posing a hazard to someone, that's kind of just what I'm trying to get after for an answer. So
All right.
Dave and the sheets know how to prepare a new plan.
You have to think about that because I don't know if that's our mission. I don't think our mission is safety. I think our mission is environmental protection. So we have to think about that too. I'm
not sure. I'm not sure I agree with you fully on that, Barbara. I think that if it is a health hazard, then replacing one-to-one with something that's more stable and doesn't add to the total impermeability, and it doesn't alter the ground underneath, but simply makes it safer, I'd be more sympathetic to that.
And again, remember, we can, as a commission.
It's not in our regulations to do that. I'm just saying.
But we can hear it as a variance, and that would be something we could consider in the alternatives analysis.
Right, exactly.
John Kumbler?
Yeah, I don't mean to tell people what to do, but you might think about that raised bed rather than extend the patio to the raised bed. Do something with the raised bed in terms of planting and make it part of your planting plan. But
mitigation plan, yeah.
right, but I'm not telling you what to do. And I also think, again, to think about, I'm very sympathetic to replacing steps that are not safe or problematic. If you can replace them with things that are such as Barbara suggested, wood chips or something, that would make us happier. But you need a safe walkway. There's no question in my mind about that.
Does anyone
Thanks.
else have any comments? Okay.
Okay, I appreciate, thank you so much for the time. Should we schedule when we're going to revisit this?
Yes. Tori, what would you suggest?
Well, we have continued Mandel to 12-2. We have continued Baker. As soon as we could get them on, I think would be 12-2, but we'd need the paperwork next Wednesday.
Dave, I'd like
So
your
why don't
input on this with Thanksgiving holiday coming up.
Why don't you please put us on that next agenda, and if I can't make it, I can't do it, but please put us on the next meeting.
All right, and we look forward to seeing the alternatives analysis, Dave.
And I just want to appreciate your working with us rather than fighting us.
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
I think it's been very constructive discussion. So, thank you for your time.
Okay.
Good
All
night.
right, then I need a motion to continue sheets till December the 2nd. Could I have a motion?
So move, John Cumberland.
Second?
Second, Michael.
Okay, John Portnoy, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ben,
Yes.
Barbara,
Yes.
John Cumbler,
Yes.
Leon,
Yes.
Michael,
Yes.
and Debbie, yes. So we'll see you when you're back.
Thank you.
Thank
Good
you very
night.
much.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Night.
All right, then we have to reopen the business meeting and do the jurisdictional opinions. So we need Hillary for that.
I'm here.
Okay.
Can I, Debbie, I'm confused and I just want clarification on the thing we began our meeting with. The letter that was sent to us that we didn't respond within 24 hours, that went to the building department. Will it
No.
to
It
us?
went to Mass DEP, Department of Environmental Protection.
Will it ever come back to us?
No.
It's just like there's dual jurisdiction, John, and if we don't take our bite within the statutory time frame and act, we've lost it. That's it.
Okay, so just so I know, what does this mean in terms of like if we had had a chance, we could have said, for example, let's say, yes, you can do this, but you can't put stairs down because that undermines the bank as a condition. We don't make any of those suggestions. Or,
None of that's on the emergency. It's only that which abates the emergency.
okay,
So
the
in
other
their
question I
eyes-
have is,
In their eyes, that's what they proposed, the sandbags.
right, but my other question is, what does this mean in terms of down the line? Do they get to say, well, we are rebuilding the already permitted structure with something that works better? I mean, are we out of the loop now? Effectively, are we out of the loop?
On that application, yes.
What does that mean in the future? Can they say we need to defend that with something else and we're out of that loop?
No. The process just applies to what they applied to do. That's it.
The emergency order.
The other thing with emergency orders is they're only valid for 30 days. So you have to begin construction, complete construction within 30 days.
Ooh.
Okay, and after,
And you can't attach conditions to an emergency certification. There's no
Okay.
mechanism for that.
okay, but if that, with what they put in washes out in 3 months,
That's it.
they can't just replace it?
Nope.
No, it's an emergency.
Okay, so they have to come back to us theoretically.
Yep. They also can't do continuous beach nourishment on it because their permission is only good for 30 days.
Okay,
But isn't there a continuous beach nourishment order on that, on
Mhm.
properties anyway?
Yep, but whether they can carry out their beach nourishment with that structure in place, I have no idea.
Oh, that's interesting, because I thought they had an annual beach nourishment.
They do.
Yeah, okay.
So they would come back to us or someone in that position who had done something on an emergency certification and had an annual beach nourishment order. If there was a conflict in those two things, they would have to come back to the commission to try and resolve what they should be doing in the future.
Really?
Hopefully the courts will just weigh in soon and we can move forward in some direction because
All right.
Okay, so the JOs.
jurisdictional opinions. We have a jurisdictional opinion for the Winslow 2 nominee trust at 165 Long Avenue, and it's from Falco Engineering. And it's a project for a septic system upgrade for an existing dwelling. The proposed leach area is located outside the buffer zone. However, the work limit for installation encroaches slightly into the buffer zone. So the work is all outside, but the work limit is within the buffer zone.
Within the 50
No,
or the 100?
yeah.
How long will the encroachment last?
Oh, gosh, like 3 days at most.
All right, let him do it.
Could I have a motion?
I move that we approve the JO for this project.
Is there a
Second.
second? All those, John,
Question, what kind of septic system are they putting in?
It's a standard Title V, but it's outside the 100-foot buffer zone.
But it's not outside the 300.
Nope.
No.
Okay.
all right, I need a voice vote. John Portnoy,
Yes.
Ben? I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
I lip read. He said yes.
Okay, Barbara,
Yes.
John Kumbler,
No.
Leon,
Yes.
Michael Fisher,
Yes.
and Debbie, yes.
Okay, the next jurisdictional opinion is for Phyllis Goldman at 266 King Philip Road. Jeremy Young is representing this one, and this is a request to remove one tagged tree that was tagged with orange ribbon that's infested with the turpentine beetle. It's dead pine tree located at the rear of the property, posing a hazard to the stairway.
Hi again.
Uh,
Hello?
Yeah, Jeremy, go ahead.
Sorry. So I revised this from the last meeting per the owner's request. She was on here, but she signed off, Phyllis Goldman. And she would just like to remove the one tree posing a hazard to the stairwell instead of doing selective pruning for the other 5 pine trees.
Is there mitigation proposed, Jeremy, for the one tree? Because we usually have mitigation, even if it's just one tree.
No, there's not, but I can do that.
Could you file a planting plan with Hillary, which shows a 3-to-1 replacement?
Sure.
John Kumbler?
Tree is dead.
Yes, correct.
I'm not quite sure why a mitigation is required for removing a dead tree.
Because it takes something out.
It's a
of the
common.
landscape that can be used by wildlife while it's there.
Yeah, it seems to me you'd have to replace it with a dead tree.
No, it's on the bank, so maybe there's an erosion factor too.
Okay.
Started out this meeting talking about how much we like dead trees. Don't you remember, John?
Yeah. All right.
Just-
Hug a dead tree.
Jeremy should chop it
Sorry.
down, bring it to your house.
Thank you. Just to note, Phyllis Goldman did plant these trees. So they are not native. I mean, they're native pines, but it was just one that didn't make it. So I don't know if that matters. So, you know, here we are 10 years later, trying to just remove it.
Okay.
Why don't you have a look at the site and see if some shrubs are needed in the area?
Okay.
Okay. Hillary, can he present you with that planting plan? All right, so could I have a motion to approve the JO?
I move we approve this. Don Cumbler.
Is there a second?
Leon second.
All right, John Portnoy,
Yes.
Ben,
Yes.
Barbara,
Yes.
John Kumbler,
Yes.
Leon,
Yes.
Michael,
Yes.
Debbie, yes, you're all set.
And Debbie, just one more thing, back to the tree discussion. I would just appreciate, you know, coming from a company with everyone here with the pandemic, I'm going to be before you every 2 weeks, it seems, just to make clarification between JOs, RDAs, and notice of intents in the future, because it's just starting to get too confusing and I don't know which way to lead my clients.
Okay, I think, Jeremy, what we would like to see, and Hillary, correct me if I'm wrong, we'd like to see JOs for minimal work, 3 trees or less. After that, we would like to see a more formal application.
Okay, thank you.
And for example, in the one where there are 16 trees, that needs to be a notice of intent. That's not yours. I'm not saying it's yours.
Okay. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Hillary, do you want to add anything to that?
Oh, I think I had a similar conversation with Jeremy just the other day.
Okey-doke. Is there anything else, Hillary?
There's another jurisdictional opinion for Ira Ziering at 115 Way 89. And that is to remove 1 tall pitch pine from the grove between the house and the marsh, closest to the house and deck, and lacking any greenery up to the very top. It was marked with a red tag. Doug was out there and it looks fine for removal, and he can do some replacement planting as well.
Is it a safety issue?
It is. It's overhanging the house.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Is there a motion?
Barbara, I'll move that over the house. Yes, definitely.
I second.
Okay, I need a voice vote. John Portnoy,
Yes.
Ben,
Yes.
Barbara,
Yes.
John Kumbler,
Yes.
Leon,
Yes.
Michael.
I think I have to recuse. I think we may have a CR on that.
Okay, and Debbie, yes.
So 6, 0, 1. Okay, and with that, I followed up with Stephen Koser and Ellen Perrin at 210 Butt Tree Way, and they had put in their boat rack. They are going to move their dock into the water, and they have come into compliance, so I did not need to send them a letter about non-compliance.
I do have a question about that project.
Yeah.
There was a flagged dead red maple in the swamp behind the house.
We
It
didn't
was
give
about-
approval to remove anything. We wanted to bring the project into compliance first.
Okay, so that'll come up again?
Yeah, because we asked for an RDA because they wanted to remove to prune 4, prune 5. So we
Right.
asked.
Okay, all right, thank you.
And Hillary, is they're going to put the deck that's on the land back in the water?
Yeah, in the water year round.
Did they have a permit for that?
Yeah, from the harbor master.
For year round dock in the water?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So why did they take it out?
They had to reconstruct it, from what I understand.
Oh, okay.
And that's all that I have by way of jurisdictional opinion. But can I confirm that 210 Kendrick Ave, did they want to go to December 16th?
I wrote down, I did not write a date down for that.
Oh.
I think that's what they said, and if they couldn't make it, they would postpone.
They want 12/16.
Okay.
Number 16, okay.
Okay. So Sheets and Mandel are going to 12/2.
Correct.
We have a motion for dinner.
Hillary has nothing else.
Anything else to tell you before we go?
Oh my
I
God.
gotta fix dinner.
All right.
All right, can
Sounds
I have a
good.
motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All right, John,
Yes.
Ben,
Yes.
Please.
Barbara,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Leon,
Yes.
Michael,
Yes.
Debbie, yes. Goodbye.
Bye,
Good evening,
everybody.
everybody.
Good meeting, Debbie.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Hillary, thank you so much.
Happy Thanksgiving.
You too.
Thank you.
Ay, ay, ay.